Are we live? We are live. Hello, friends. Hello, all of my friends. I can't see you right now because I have to. I kind of like. I ran really fast. I had to go to the washroom right before I started, and so I had to like run to get the chat to pop out. So I'm working on it. Alrighty. Chat is here, and I am here, and the stream is live. Sweet. Everyone can hear me okay? I see we've got a Horde with the cat smiley face. We got Shachar. We got Big Seltzer, who is actually a lobbyist. He is a lobbyist for Big Seltzer. I don't know why you're so open about that. Lobbies are bad, even for the Seltzer lobby. But then again, you know, the clown industry has been in decline for a long time, and having somebody from Big Seltzer, you know, getting involved in Washington to make sure that clowns aren't without their essential supplies is an important part of our economy. So I appreciate Big Seltzer for his work. Corentin Balanger, salut, ça va bien? Mr. Shepard. And Yahir Tapia. So what's this? Oh, well, this happens every week. There could be new people here. So what it is this is a stream I do for an hour every Thursday before a new Step Back video goes live. So like in the hour before the new Step Back video goes up, I talk to the audience for an hour. I take questions. I rant about things. And then as soon as the stream is done, you get more Step Back. And so this happens all the time. So I do have a couple things before we get into questions. One is I've had to move Subscriber Appreciation Day for 1 week. So it's going to be next Sunday, not this Sunday, because I have a course that I'm taking this weekend. So I'm going to be busy all weekend long, unfortunately. I'm sorry. It's going to be with Mike Stutchbury, so it's still going to be really fun. I hope you guys are still there for that. And that, I think, is all the things. There's going to be some changes coming to the channel's style. So if anybody wants to know about that, just ask. But the channel's going to go through some changes starting not next week, but the week after. So the first question I've got here is Shahar asking, what's today's video? Well, today's video is, if I recall correctly, about the 8-hour workday. Yes. So next week, next Tuesday, is May Day, International Workers' Day. And so I made myself a little video about the fight for the 8-hour workday and where it came from, its status today, and how it needs to change in the future. It's pretty fun. It's kind of depressing, and it's a little bit short, but, you know, I thought it was pretty good. Now we're getting to the end of the last cycle that I was at the YouTube space for, and when you get near the end, these were like scripts that I like fought super. I had to write super fast, so they're not super long. But that will be changing. That'll be changing very soon, because I do not like having scripts that I rush. I like having scripts that I have a whole week to work on. So I have scripts that I'm working on now. Last week's video was awesome. Well, thank you very much. Are you talking about the quick step or the video about the Wild West? Because I really like the video about the Wild West. I had a lot of fun with that one. I did not know that it didn't do super well, but that's okay. When you make a video on average every 3.5 days, it's okay to have a few stinkers. Hello, Hannibaluki. So, what are we talking about today? Well, Corentin, that's up to you guys. But yeah, International Workers' Day is the thing. I know that's what my user base wants to see. So, oh boy. Could you do a video about the Strasser brothers, Strasserism, and the origin of National Socialism? Oh, right. I forgot. I have to get my card. You guys always throw so many recommendations at me during these chats that I have to write them down. So the Strasser brothers. I imagine they're a less fun version of the Mario brothers. You guys ever notice, like, why is there two brothers? Like, if one of them's named Mario and they're the Mario brothers, does that mean that Mario's name is Mario? These are the thoughts that kept me out of the very good schools. D&D update. You did nothing. Oh, no. All right. Strasserism, National Socialism. I did have so when you're talking about the National Socialism, I do have a video on National Socialism that I made. It was, it was about fascism, but it does cover the Nazis. So you got that one. I am from Ethiopia. I love your videos. Love you so much. Thank you, Baye. I appreciate that. I am very proud of the Ethiopia video, and it seems that a lot of people liked it. So I'm really happy that you enjoyed it. I always knew that Ethiopia had a lot of really cool parts to it, a lot of really cool stuff going on that doesn't really get a lot of mainstream attention. So I thought it'd be a great topic to talk about with Step Back. And aside from all of the Eritreans who seemed to really hate that video, besides that, everyone seemed pretty positive. All right. Let's see. I'll go through a few of these things. All right. James Gardner. Why do you think that May Day, the labor one, not the pagan one, is not really a thing in North America? Couple reasons. Cold War definitely helps. But also, as I learned, because I actually made one version of this video that actually had the wrong information in it. And the wrong information that I had said that it was in September in order to prevent solidarity with other workers. What I found out later, actually, was that the September Labor Day, at least the one practiced in Canada, is actually older than International Workers' Day, and it was based on a labor dispute as well. And so Labor Day in Canada, at least, still has the same amount of leftist cred. Although I would argue that having them all on the same day would be a better idea, because then it's like, it's all of us together building up. Hello, Fedor Steeman, my oldest and wisest YouTube friend. Not that you are like an old person, but that you are an old friend. You've been a Step Back fan for years now. All right. Hi, Step Back History Ons. Thanks, Maximiliano Tron. Hello. Yeah. Hannibal Luki, sorry for the tragedy in Toronto. Fucking maniac. I agree. I can actually tell you a bit of a story about that. So Monday this week, Fedor, you're only old when you start complaining about young people. That's what I've learned. As long as you don't complain about young people, you're not old. So Toronto, you guys have probably all heard about the guy, the incel person who committed a terrorist attack in Toronto this week. Yeah, I was kind of close to it, so I can talk a little bit about what was going on with that. So, as many of you probably know, I live in downtown Toronto, and this the terrorist attack actually happened in North York, which is like northern Toronto. And on that day, I think I had every single. I think I had like every single crazy thing happen to me that day. So, a couple pieces of announcements. One, I'm dropping out of my PhD program. This is something that I've been sitting on for a while, but I finally told my supervisors on Monday. So I emailed my supervisors telling them that I was going to focus on getting a job and building my career and building Step Back and doing things like that. And, getting my life together because I'm turning 30 and I want to deal with that. And then on that same day, I got a phone call about a job interview, so that was good. And then the same day too, I was out with a friend on Yonge Street. We were just hanging out, talking about stuff, and the terrorist attack happened while I was on Yonge Street, which is the street where it happened. Like while we were out walking around, and I had to do it because, or I found out about it only after I had like gotten home, or I found out about it while I was actually on Yonge Street, but I was heading home, and I had to stop, or I noticed it because there was like ambulances and fire trucks and stuff going up the street. So I was astonishingly close to that attack. And I also noticed, and the reason I found out about it was not because of the news, not because of like an update or anything like that. I found out because so many Step Back fans reached out to ask if I was okay. And I did not know what was going on. And so I looked it up and I found out, and I was like, oh shit. Oh my. And so I ran home to tell everybody that I was okay. And then Facebook asked me if I was okay. It was such a weird day to have that, a phone call about a job interview, and breaking up with my supervisors all in the exact same day. It was weird. Yeah. All right. I have a question. What if the Soviets teamed with Japan in World War II and the Soviets conquered Europe while Japan conquered Asia and became world powers? I don't know. I guess that's a thing that would have happened. I don't know if the thing is that like Soviet Union teaming up with a literal emperor seems a little strange, but I don't know. I feel like there was a lot of bad blood between Russia and Japan in that period because of a war they had in the late 19th century. And on top of that, one was like a conquering colonial empire, and one was the Emperor of Japan. Ha ha, paching. No, they were both of diametrically opposed ideologies, and so I don't know. I could not see them making an alliance that was for opportunity. Rather, like the only time that the Soviet Union would make a deal like that was kind of like when they did the Allies, the fight against fascism. But to ally with Japan would be a very difficult thing to do. So I have trouble. Let's see. Oh man, you guys asked so many good questions today, and I hope I can give any of them a good answer. Do you think we are in a second Cold War between Russia and America? I mean, we're already doing a proxy war with Syria, and I mean, it's got a bit more facets than the old Cold War had, because now there are multiple poles to this war going on. Actually, one of my cats is on my couch, and I don't know where the other one is. So, a second Cold War with Russia, like, it kind of makes sense and it kind of doesn't, because it's a war. It is definitely a geopolitical struggle that is happening, yes, but it's also a changing situation. Like, there's more actors who are on the world stage. The thing that the Cold War really was defined by was that the United States and the Soviet Union were the only real countries that made it out of World War II okay. And they kind of fought over who would influence the world. Now you've got situations like you've got China that's trying to develop an infrastructure system in Southern Africa. You've just got way more players on the table. The European Union doesn't take marching orders from the United States like it used to. It's like there's a lot changing. What is your thought about the North Korea issue? It seems that there's actually been, with North Korea, there seems to have been a lot of progress between the Koreas. Like, I think the Koreas kind of realized that if they follow the United States's, see you later, Sir Zhao Zhao. If the Koreas kind of realize that if they use the United States as a leader in this diplomatic situation, then you'll probably wind up in in new World War III. So it looks like they're actually like working aside. They're probably working out their differences, at least to some extent. I think there's talks about ending the war officially, which has huge geopolitical ramifications, especially for the U.S. military bases in South Korea. So there's a lot of potential, but I'm more optimistic about how things are going in the Koreas than the American media would kind of want to. The American labor movement. You can take a look at it. All right. Wow. Are you sure you want to drop your PhD? Yes. I have been debating dropping my PhD for over 6 months now. Really, ever since I moved to Toronto, I had not been making a lot of progress on it. And I just was not enjoying my research topic. My supervisors were all like, one of my supervisors on sabbatical, my other supervisors dealing with a personal crisis. And like, I wasn't finding the work really good. I wasn't really enjoying myself. The questions that I set out to answer weren't really motivating me to do like the hours and hours and hours of work to do it. And Step Back was too enticing. Working on Step Back was more fun, and to be honest, it was doing more for my future career than the PhD would have. PhDs, in a lot of times, unless you're planning on becoming a history professor, which I wasn't, will make you less employable. And I wanted to get into like content marketing and social media work and activism and outreach and those kinds of things. And so I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to finish. I just it was going to be years of work that I was hopelessly behind on that would take energy away from things that I thought would be better for my career and things that I was more interested in. It doesn't mean I don't have to do research. Like, I learned a lot from my PhD. I'm ABD. I did all the work before your dissertation. I just didn't write the dissertation. And I'd rather spend my energy to write a book that you guys would want to read rather than a dissertation. So even that I wasn't too thrilled upon. So I just I got out. I don't think it's a bad thing. I feel really good about it. And actually my supervisors do too. Because my supervisors had been asking if this is something I still wanted to keep doing multiple times. I said yes, but mostly out of just the sunken cost fallacy. So I appreciate your concern, Fedor. I'm trying very hard. But honestly, like, it was the sunken cost fallacy on my part, and my family and my wife all like having the same kind of feeling. Okay. Let's see. Infant circumcision, for or against? I'm against. I'm against doing anything that anything that drastic and that serious to a person who can't consent. And babies can't consent. So it's an unethical form of violence, and I don't like it. I don't know anybody who would. Okay, I know a few people who do, but I don't agree with them. I once worked as an external IT consultant at the Danish newspaper. Oh my, that is very chilling. You came out okay though, so I'm glad. That's good. Have you ever had a black male teacher or any other male teachers of color as a student in public education? So, is this at any level? Because I had a history professor when I was in my first year at Bishop's. First year of my undergrad, I had a teacher who was he was a Senegalese man who was a teacher of world history, and I also have had I've had multiple women of color as my teachers. I think one of the teachers who made me the most intelligent that I could be, like the one who like has taught me the most about how to teach myself, was a woman of color when I was doing my master's degree. So, you know, there's a few. But you asked specifically about men of color, and one of my favorite teachers in undergrad was a black man from Senegal, and he was really good. And he was a joint appointment between Bishop's and the University of Sherbrooke, and it was really good. Any good leftist news source or any on YouTube? It depends upon what you're reading. Libcom's good. I generally like Alternet is decent. They're like a collector of like left news. The Intercept is a good left-wing news site. Not all the time, but sometimes the Guardian can be good. But as I said, they have you have to be a little bit more skeptical with you have to be a little bit more skeptical with the Guardian, and also Salon. I like Salon quite a bit. Democracy Now! Is good on YouTube, especially because they have like a 10-minute wrap-up of the news of the day, which I find very useful. So that's a good one. And they tend to have some pretty good interviews. Yeah, I think I would put those. Jimmy Dore, I have some reservations about. I think Jimmy Dore and like the Russia Today crowd kind of veer into conspiracy theories sometimes, and that part I kind of turns me off. Hey, that girl that has been noticed. Welcome to the stream. I'm guessing you have class in a little bit, but welcome for the time that you're around. Wait, no, it's the end of April. Class would be over now. Are you going to be free to just come to streams all the time? Anyways, we were just talking about leftist news sources. All right, Doughboy DeVito, what is the seemingly tiny, insignificant thing you did in the past that actually had a large positive impact on someone in the long run? Oh my, I know there's probably like a, I know that Jimmy Dore is part of the TYT network and not the RT network, but he's got his friends. Jimmy Dore does fall into conspiracy theories from time to time, and that part I'm not too thrilled on. So let's see. I'm not saying that Jimmy Dore is bad. I'm just saying that you have to be a little bit critical of him. You have to just, be more skeptical. You can't just you have to check out the things that he's talking about sometimes. let's see. We talked about leftist news sources. That was a good one. All right. Oh, yeah. What seemingly tiny, insignificant thing have you done in the past that actually had a large positive impact on someone in the long run? That would be a hard one. It's a hard one to think through, actually. I'm going to take a pass on that one, Bill Way DeVito. It's such a good question, but that one would take a little bit of digging. I have to think about it, but I would probably say that I have done, in many cases, had one-on-one conversations with people about writing and about like arguments and things like that. And I had one student who I helped her a little bit with her writing, and she ended up becoming a very, very successful student, won some competitions and stuff like that. And I feel very proud for whatever small part I played in her getting better of. All right. Let's see. What do you think of these white helmets in Syria? This is the kind of thing that someone just asked, like, what's the kind of thing that you would consider Jimmy Dore conspiratorial about? And it's like, white hats in Syria is the kind of thing that he would be conspiratorial about. I think that he sometimes is how would I say this right? I know this is going to sound awful, but he seems to have a bit too much of an antagonist. He's way too much of like how would I say this correctly? He sometimes laps up news sources like Russia Today and like kind of covers those stories, and he doesn't do a lot of research into how Russia Today talks about things. And there's sort of this vein of leftists on the internet, and Jimmy Dore, I think, is at least sort of part of them, who seem to take their being critical of the United States as a way to not talk about people who are not American but are also terrible. Specifically, people like Vladimir Putin, who, like, no matter how bad you think that like Emmanuel Macron is, like, Putin literally kills his critics, which is fucked up. And I think that there's a weird like pro-Russia like twist on his stuff that I'm not a big fan of, and that comes up with a lot of people. Like the show Redacted Tonight, I basically couldn't follow anymore because similar stuff happens. All right. Did you ever hear about Homestuck? I think I've heard the word. I don't know what it is though. I think it either is a video game or a TV show. I don't know which one. What would America look like today without any of the socialist reforms? It probably would have collapsed. I don't think that with the socialist reforms. All right, have fun, Fedor. Say hi to your kids. Yeah, so without socialist reforms, there would have been not a lot of the United States probably wouldn't have survived the Depression. I don't think any country would have survived the Depression without some socialist reforms. Let's see. Considering what has happened with Trump and abstinence-only education, do you ever plan to do a quick step on abstinence-only education? That'd be a good one. That would be a good idea. Let's write that one down too. The thing about an abstinence-only education system is that, or abstinence-only education for a quick step, is that I would have to find something unique to say about it. To say that it's ineffective and a result of trying to pander to the worst aspects of the right wing doesn't accomplish much. That's already been said by other people who know way more about it than I do. I would have to think of some way to talk about it in a smart fashion. If Bernie becomes president as a Canadian, what sort of policies would you like him to implement first, possibly via executive order? I would really like if the United States got, I think, public health care. Public health care is one that I've been wanting America to have for ages. My in-laws are American, and public health care would do so much to make their lives better, even though they would complain about it. Yeah. I think healthcare for the United States is one of the simplest fixes that would do the most good in the shortest amount of time. It would be night and day. How would a PhD hinder you in getting a job? Well, Dakota, if you have a PhD and you apply for a job after you finish your PhD that's not looking for a job as a professor at a university, the first question they ask you at your interview is, why aren't you trying to become a professor? And when you say that that's not your interest, they think you're lying, because a lot of people assume that if you have a PhD, you are either a professor or you want to be one. And so any other job you apply for, they're just assuming that you are trying to become a professor and using this job to just be your thing in the meantime. Or that you are somebody who failed to become a professor. Either way, neither of those things look good for you. And so you typically will lose out on a lot of jobs if you have a PhD. I am a millennial, and millennials don't get paid very much and have a lot of hard times finding jobs. Having yet another thing to make them less likely to hire me, especially in today's climate where they actually care way more about experience than education, has led to a lot of situations where you are significantly behind the rest of your peers at the same age when doing stuff. So it really getting a PhD is necessary for a very specific line of work. But if you don't do that, you'll have a harder time selling yourself in a more general job market. And I didn't want to be in the academy, so there I was. I'm a technological Marxist in Staffordshire in the UK. Should I join the Labour Party? Yes. That would be a good idea. It would, even if you have issues with the Labour Party, it's the best option you got. And with Jeremy Corbyn, it's a better option than it has been in the past. So go for it. If Jeremy Corbyn turns out to be a disappointment, then, at least you're not with Theresa May anymore. And when it comes to participating in the dominant culture's political system, really the only thing you can do with your vote is not really go for the ideal candidate, because they're an ideal candidate that wants to overthrow the current system would never get elected. So you really need to vote for the best option you have on hand. What are your thoughts on the latest news that Trump's lawyer has been swept up with indictments? I mean, I think that this one, has more legs than a lot of other things, because I still think that if Trump is going to go down for any crime that he's done, it's not the Russia stuff. The Russia stuff seems to be a lot of smoke and no fire. I think it's going to be the stuff that's bubbling under the surface, that Trump has worked a lot with the mob. And if anything's going to take him down, it's going to be that being blown wide open, that he has worked with the mob to get things built in New York City, which should surprise nobody. But yeah. I think that this lawyer might be a closer thing to that. So we shall see. How many history books do you eat every day? At least 4. Are you familiar with Revolutionary Left Radio? It's a podcast. I am subscribed to Revolutionary Left Radio. I have not listened to an episode yet because there are way too many podcasts to listen to, but it looks good. I have one on my list now to listen to because the latest one sounds pretty good. So it's a thing that I would try. It's a podcast I'm intrigued by. I've had several friends recommend it, so yeah. Is the left failing ex-Muslims and driving them to the alt-right? No. All right. So my MA, my master's degree, my first one, my American Studies master's degree is on Islamophobia. And I think there's a lot of, I also was somebody who about 10 years ago was a complete shill in the new atheism movement. So I was the complete asshole towards Muslims that I railed against then 5 years later. And I think there is a lot to talk about with this because there's a lot of misconceptions, especially amongst hardcore atheists, and people who are and ex-Muslims. And I do think that these are groups that have different stakes than most people on the left have when it comes to Islam. So first of all, hardcore atheists and the new atheist movement are typically people who have missed out on the idea of what religion actually is. And they don't understand that religion is less about factual claims about the state of the universe than it is about identity and national identity and community and belonging. And so by saying you're going to shit on Islam under the guise of, I'm just asking intellectual questions about this and that and the other thing, you're not this is never directed at people who are fundamentalist literal readers like Wahhabists in Saudi Arabia. This is leveled usually at the entire religion of over 1 billion people, of which there's so much more diversity than a lot of these people say. The second group are ex-Muslims. And in a lot of cases, I think that there's a case that I've talked about where a lot of leftists will hear from people who are from former communist countries who will say that communism is bad because, it does this, that, and the other. And a lot of ex-Muslims have an axe to grind because they're ex-Muslims for a reason. Islam does reproduce the Islamic, the Islamic religion. If you look at it at its core and you follow it to a T, it reproduces horrible forms of misogyny and violence and oppression, just like the Bible, and just like the Upanishads, and the Buddhists, and the Zens, and the Shintos, and the literally every religious group has ways of being interpreted to be violent and oppressive. And so I think that in both cases, there's a lot of people who want to shit on an entire religion because of retrograde interpretations of it that are followed by some people. And also in a context when a lot of those people who follow that religion are being openly discriminated against, subjected to hate crimes, and literally being called, literally having the president call for bans on them, bans from them entering the country. And I think that in both cases, there's a missing out on the context of what you're saying. There's a missing out that, like, hey, I'm just asking questions about this religion in a time when people are, like, trying to tear apart, trying to, like, discriminate actively against the people from that region. You are being, at best, insensitive, and at worst, you are fueling fires of hatred. For example, could you imagine that when, in the 30s, if Nazism was picking up in Germany, and, you know, anti-Semitism was on the increase, that if you were just an ex-Jew who was like, oh, I don't like Judaism, I don't have issues with Judaism, or with Jews, I'm just asking questions about why is Judaism so bad? And it's not the time to do that. Like, you see, so that's what I'm getting at. And also, like, you're not going to stop Islam from existing. No matter how good an orator you are, like Sam Harris, Islam has been around for over 1,300 years, and it's going to be around long after Sam Harris is dead. The way to make the world better, the way to make Islam better, is not to just denigrate the entire religion and just hope that everybody will be convinced by your logical arguments to not be Muslim anymore, but to try and make everything work, try to figure something out. And I feel like people don't get that. And if you are trying to advocate that a group shouldn't exist, a group that their identity doesn't come from logical and reasonable positions, it's part of your identity and your sense of community, then it's going to happen. Like, that's not something you're going to convince people of. So what you're really advocating is genocide. You're really advocating for oppression, bigotry, and trying to make a world where there's no more Muslims. And that doesn't mean convincing them out of it, because that's not going to happen, which means you want to kill them. It's dumb. It's hate. It is bigotry and hatred, and nothing else. Because trust me, the arguments made against Islam can be made against literally any other religion. Anyways, I've given that too much time. The Clintons have been killing their political opinions since the 60s. You see, this is the kind of stuff where I'm like, come on, Jimmy Dore. No. What is abstinence-only education? Well, Massimiliano, it is a way of it's a way that sex education is taught in some parts of Canada and in large parts of the United States, where they don't teach you about health control. They don't teach you about birth control. They don't teach you about how to have safe, consensual sexual relationships, but they just teach you to not have sex until you're married, to reinforce Judeo-Christian values. Which I would say is an act of terrorism, to kind of speak to adversary American over there. But apparently that's not the case. So yeah, that's basically what abstinence-only education is. Would you like to do it? How would you like to do a video on the Paris Commune? I should. Bad Mouse Productions did a really good one, so I would have to find some way to not just copy his video. I know that you're an NDP guy. What do you think of Jagmeet Singh? Well, I like him more than I don't like him. I didn't vote for him when I was voting. I voted in the NDP leadership race. I did not vote for him. I voted for Nikki Ashton. Jagmeet Singh won, which we all know. So, whatever. I don't like some of his positions. I think he's too right-wing. But he's got that new media Trudeau charm, and if it gets the NDP more seats, then I guess, I'll take it. Jagmeet Singh's not my favorite, but I don't exactly hate him either. Will you try your PhD program again? If I tried my PhD program again, I would probably need to be in a different place in my life. I would need to be in a time where Step Back is pretty much my full-time income, and there was some burning research question that I needed to go to university to solve, and I don't know what that would be, but at the moment I can't think of what it is. If like the thing that should motivate you to do a PhD is not I want a PhD. It should be I have a burning research question that I want to answer, and that's when you should do a PhD. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to keep your motivation up to get all the way to the end, because you have to want to answer a question so bad that you're willing to dedicate years to answering that one thing. Cardinal, you're new to the channel. Well, welcome aboard, Cardinal. I haven't had a chance to catch up on all your videos. You might have answered this before, but do you have any thoughts on Rosa Luxemburg? I should. I don't. But she's... I mean, I should probably research her more. I think that she might have had tanky tendencies, but I'm not 100% on that. So, all right, Cecile Dubois. Do you plan on making any videos about early indigenous Native Americans? I have made several. If you look on my channel long enough, you'll probably look through my backlog, and you'll find that I've made several videos on pre-Columbian America. It was actually the subject I was going to do my PhD on before I went to grad school. So there's a few. And there will probably be more, because it's one of my favorite subjects. Would Mike Pence be the first openly young Earth creationist president? No. 255 AD, there were several. I mean, there were U.S. presidents before evolution was even a thing, so he won't be the first. Plus, I imagine there are some like George Bush Jr., who probably, if you cornered them in a dark room, would say they're creationist, but they didn't say it out loud so that they could get more elected. Alrighty. Adversary American, can you name a major terrorist attack by the following religions in America? All right. Why do you need to... Okay. A major terrorist... Okay, yeah, okay. Adversary Americans just being an adversary. All right, yeah. If you think that Muslims are really the only terrorists out there, you should really listen to the Rohingya people. Just saying. Look at what's going on in Myanmar, where Buddhists are massacring Muslims. What's your opinion on Marxism-Leninism? Probably better than capitalism, but I don't like the whole no democracy thing. The whole dictatorship part's not my favorite. Hello, Audible Anarchist. Welcome. All right, let's just grab a few more questions. You guys have a lot of questions this week. I'm very proud of you guys. All right. Christian Vibrecht. Mr. Johnson, do you believe Shutterlock Shaman is overpowered? Shutterlock Shaman. I almost feel like this is a game I know, but I'm not. Oh, Hearthstone. Well, blah. I have no idea. I haven't played Hearthstone in forever. I haven't played Hearthstone. I played it a little bit when Kobolds and Catacombs came out, but I only played the the new mode that they made. And then also before that, when I did play Hearthstone, all I played was Arena. And I didn't like, I stopped playing Hearthstone because I didn't like paying for Arena, so I just stopped playing altogether. So, blah. Okay. Do you want humans to have tails? I mean, having an extra limb could be useful. It would make chairs a little bit harder to use, but, I mean, Who hasn't needed a third hand in a certain situation? All right. Oh yeah, Will's here. Sup, Will? Best spell in D&D is definitely the Resilient Sphere, because you trap somebody in a magical hamster ball. And I mean, how can you not do that? Whew, all right, let's see. All right, we got 9 minutes left and a lot of questions. All right. Did the Haudenosaunee League exist in AD 1000? I don't think so. I think that they started in the 1200s, but I'm not 100% on that. Do you think the K-12 education system in the U.S. is so gendered, i.e. predominantly female and white? That has to do with it being a pink color job. That it's a pink. It comes with historical precedent. Women have been teachers for centuries, and so it has become a gendered job, which means that for a similar amount of education, pound for pound, it pays less, which is not fair. So it's undervalued because women do it, which is a common thing that happens in a lot of career paths. It's Sam O'Peel, thoughts on lab-grown meat? Lab-grown meat is a cool idea. I think it's a smart and clever workaround. Vegan meat is an interesting idea to me. I wonder how they'll make it work, but if they can make it work, then I think that's a great alternative to growing meat. And I think that once we've got it down pat, that we should make killing animals for their flesh illegal, because it'd be cruel. What do you think of Hearts of Iron 4 or other Paradox interactive games? I like them generally. They're pretty hard. I'd probably say the ones I've sunk the most time into are Crusader Kings 2 and Stellaris. Stellaris is like my favorite video game, par none. So that probably says a lot. As far as the games go, I think that there's interesting critiques to be had about their notions of progress and development in technology that imply this sort of liberal, capitalist, progressive message on top of periods that don't necessarily have them. And so that's problematic. But it's not enough to say that I don't enjoy it. I think that the game that has the biggest issues in that run is the one that, is Europa Universalis. The Europa Universalis series, I don't think does the best job at portraying colonization and the colonial mindset enough, and just flat out gives bonuses to white people in a lot of really kind of weird ways that I think that they could have done a more elegant option to teach how the actual things, the actual factors that caused these two that caused the West to colonize the way it did. All right, I'm going to do rapid fire for the rest of them, but I'm not going to be able to take any more questions because let's see where we are at the end of this. So, is the United Federation of Planets circa 2400 a Marxist society? I mean, it acts a lot like one. There's no money, and everybody does whatever job they feel that they are best suited for. So, that's nice. I did not intend to insinuate that Islam was the most violent religion, but by dodging my question, you made it seem like it was. Well, there have been tons of Christian terrorists in America. There was one literally last week at a Waffle House. There have, there's been abortion clinic bombings. There have been all sorts of extremist Christians who have been terrorists in America. There has, of course, been a few Muslim terrorists in America, as you've seen. There have been, I don't know about any Buddhist ones, there have been Buddhist terrorist campaigns in other countries. I think the fact that you limited it to America just so that you could say that there are only a few and you couldn't point out the terrorism that happens across the world. But, you know, that's just me. There were, in Canada, there were Sikh terrorists in the 70s. So, you know. How much does George Soros pay you for these streams? Not enough. I really wish that I had. If George Soros is listening, if you like what I'm doing and you want to drop me a few mils, like, you know, ring me up. Have you seen the history of the entire world? I guess yes, I have. Oh yeah, banishment with the imprisoning somebody on a demiplane. Yes, that is a great way to do it. That's a good. Banishment is a pretty good spell too. But I love the hamster wheel or the hamster ball thing. What do you think about identity politics? I think that it is great. It's important. It is a great way for people to find their own paths into a greater cause for justice in the world. It has unfortunately been weaponized by the right in order to shame the left out of trying to make a class-based argument for the mechanism behind oppression. But that shouldn't stop us. That shouldn't mean that it's an indictment of identity politics. It's an indictment of the right that uses people's identities and the fractures that capitalist society makes in order to advance their own causes. And that should be a thing that we oppose, but it doesn't mean that we should say that all identity politics is bad. Thoughts on the controversy surrounding... Oh, gosh. Thoughts on the controversy around the University of Alberta giving David Suzuki an honorary degree? I think that it shows that the free speech warriors are complete hypocrites. What's your favorite Settlers of Catan expansion? I've only ever played the vanilla game. What do you think about the John Birch Society? I just recently heard about them and found videos explaining their philosophy interesting. Aren't they like this like insane, super duper right-wing think tank that just produces like the worst neoliberal schlock or neoconservative schlock? Do you subscribe to Errant Signal? I don't. How do I donate? Well, you already gave me a super weird super chat, but you can go to paypal.me/stepbackhistory or patreon.com/stepbackhistory. So I guess if that's a thing that you want to do, given by your question, it might be that might have been a bit facetious, but that's a thing that exists. Is it legal? Would you bang a hot 16-year-old? No, I would not. That would be very unethical. And yeah, no, that'd be a terrible thing for all people involved. Have you studied Jungian psychology? Well, I'm no lobster boy, but I do know enough about it that it is based in the psychoanalytic school. It's very early psychology. It is from a time when psychology treated itself more like philosophy than a science. And so people just kind of reason things. So, yeah, no. But like Jungian psychology is it's a part of the psychological history that is it's not based in evidence. Despite what Jordan Peterson would say, you know, it's not based on any experimental evidence whatsoever. And once psychologists started to actually get involved in psychology, like once psychology started to actually become a science and started to be studied rigorously with like evidence and stuff, Jungian psychology went right out along with a lot of the psychoanalyst stuff, the Freudian stuff. So it doesn't have any scientific basis in reality. It was just speculation, really. So yeah. Well, what do you know? It's 2 o'clock. And let's see. just ban you from my channel. Bye-bye, Mr. Higginbottom. And here is a link to the new video. I hope that you guys have a good time. Thank you guys for asking so many questions this week. Oh, my throat is tired. I'm exhausted. All right, I'm going to... Can you explain how we got to the 8-hour workday? Go watch the video. Guys, enjoy it. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. I hope you guys have a really great week. I will see you guys next Thursday for another one of these. Take care of yourselves and each other.